And we are live. So, good to see you guys. Not gonna lie, I am feeling like absolute crap today. But,
Oh no.
well, oh yeah, you weren't here. So, yeah, I did something where, and this is gonna sound really stupid. I don't know if it's the MS or something else, but Um, earlier today, I sneezed of all things, and when I did, all of a sudden I had a pain in my side, like it just knocked me over.
Damn.
And I haven't quite. And there goes Danny. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, so I was in the middle of telling you, but
Yeah,
yeah,
pain in your side. It nearly knocked you over. Is the last thing I heard. Sorry.
right. And so then for the rest of the day, now every time I move, it's like it feels like somebody just jabbed a knife in my side, and so I'm assuming I pulled a muscle in there or something, but just really hurts. I know it's not my appendix because I had that out, and it's on the other side anyway. But yeah, so that's been my day.
I started out with a doctor's visit and then a busy day at work.
So today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of X-Men '97 first.
Okay.
So Life Death Part 2. I will say this much. It's better than Life Death Part 2, the comic book, but that's not saying much in my opinion.
Well, they combined a couple different storylines with
Right,
Life
because now
Death
they're
Part
bringing in
Two.
the Shi'ar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Although, what's with the voice of Gladiator? I mean, as soon as Gladiator shot, I was like, he's like, "Hey, everybody, I'm the most powerful guy in the universe." I'm like, what the?
Hey,
What?
Mastodon. Welcome to the chat.
Blue Meanie, really? How am I a Blue Meanie?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you know.
Yeah,
My,
don't make him laugh. We might inadvertently hurt him.
yeah. If I actually laughed hard, I probably would probably hurt like an sob. So, but don't worry. I mean, neither of these episodes was particularly funny, so I don't think I'll be laughing too much.
No.
But anyway, we a surprising amount of non-storm stuff, considering the name of this is Life Death Part 2, because the comic book Life Death Part 2 is all storm.
Yeah, they combine the Professor X
Right.
story with
And
this.
and it's not well, and there's also a little bit of stuff back.
Oh, you just skipped it. Did you notice how there was no Magneto, but they added Nightcrawler? This is one of those shows you
Well,
can't skip the
Nightcrawler was in
intro.
the was in. Oh, you mean in the intro
In the
part? Yeah.
intro, in the intro,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I did not notice that. But
Yeah, they Magneto. You got a super chat.
and thank you so much, Pluto's stepson. It's the new Transformers One trailer. It looks like dog feces. Seth told everyone Orville's coming back.
Well, I haven't heard. I didn't even know there was a new Transformers trailer.
It's not a live action Transformers movie. It's an animated film
Oh, okay.
starring Chris Hemsworth, and I can't remember the. I know
If
Scarlett
it's animated,
Johansson.
I don't care.
It's basically baby Transformers. It's Optimus Prime and Megatron before they were Optimus Prime and Megatron. So they're a couple of young teenage Transformers, and they're like best friends on an adventure together.
That sounds stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks pretty bad. So yeah, I will not argue the idea that it looks like feces. As far as Seth telling everyone the Orville's coming back, well, that's funny because he hadn't told me.
I haven't heard of this either, nor do I care after the
Yeah.
shit show that was
Yeah,
season 3.
quite frankly, yeah, I could, I'll watch it for you guys, but if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I wouldn't watch it at all because season 3 was so bad. I really have no interest in a continued Orville story. However, you know, if there actually does end up being a season 4 of Orville, yeah, sure, I'll watch it. But even if there is, it wouldn't be until at least next year. Because if they haven't even started production, I mean, heck, they're looking at now. What I did hear as an official announcement is there will be a Strange New Worlds season 3 and season 4. So they've pulled up the order on season 4, and I think they did that as an announcement on purpose, just to let people understand that no, they're not canceling all Star Trek, since we just got the notification that Lower Decks was going.
So, remember how earlier I was talking about the stuff that about the Netflix and the 5 years, and you're like, oh, that's all rumor. You were right. I was watching an interview where apparently the creators, the chick who's the showrunner for season 5, I forget her name.
Michelle Paradise.
Yeah, Michelle Paradise,
Yeah.
and Sonequa Martin Green. It was during, I don't know if it was at CinemaCon here in Vegas, but the video interview I saw came out around the same time as CinemaCon. And they said going into it, they didn't know it was going to be the final season. And so the studio, after they made that announcement, let them do reshoots. Or after they did the
Right, to
internal
turn the
announcement.
season finale into a series finale.
Series finale, yeah. So there was no truth to that. It was always going to be 5 years crap. So you were right. I thought you'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
Me say you were right.
It's always nice to hear. And Alex says, "How's my trip again?" My trip was okay. I mean, it was honestly, as far as trips go, it kind of sucked in that I drove for about 15 hours on Sunday. We spent Monday with my father-in-law, and then I drove about 15 hours on Tuesday coming back. I mean, so it was a very short trip, but we wanted to get down there to see my father-in-law because he has not been doing too well. And if we can, we'll do it again in the near future. And it just kind of sucks taking these short trips when it's an all-day drive to get down there. Anyway, so so we get some stuff. The Shi'ar are kind of in a civil conflict. They're also in conflict with the Kree, apparently. So we get some of their fighting the Kree. That's Lalandra's sister right there. I never.
And that's Ronan.
Yeah, Ronan the Accuser right behind her.
Yeah.
From Guardians of the Galaxy fame. Meanwhile, we see that Charles Xavier has a special super suit that lets him walk around, because why not?
That suit's straight from the comic.
Yeah, but I still think it's stupid. Just let him be in the chair.
I mean, just saying. It's not like they made it up for the show, is all I was getting.
No, I get it. But they're mashing so much stuff together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, are they just trying to get every single X-Men comic from the 1980s crammed into, one 10-episode season?
I mean, it's not just the 80s. I mean, there's stuff from the 90s also.
Well, that I don't recognize because I didn't read it in the 90s.
Yeah, no, they're combining
But
some stuff.
but yeah, so I think that if anything's going to be a problem with this series, and there's the shot that Danny wanted right there.
Ha ha ha.
But if anything's going to be a problem with this series, it's that they're cramming way too much into it. They're not taking their time with anything. And And once again, we get direct references to sex in here, and I don't understand. Like now, it's like every episode has to have some kind of sexual reference to it, which
Super
finding very annoying. Doro's Seed Village says, "We are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter. I'm a fan of the X-Men films." Well, Doro, I'm sorry. Because I am not a fan of the X-Men 90s cartoon. I'm okay with. Even this, I'm okay with, even though I do think the content is too adult to call it X-Men 97. They should just call this, X-Men. And just
I don't know, man.
Say it's a new series.
I disagree because you and I
know,
had the
because
same
you don't
disagreement.
think
No,
you don't
it
care
just,
about it being for kids.
it's not for kids. It's for us.
Right.
1997. This show is targeted for people who were kids in 1997.
Right, but
you know.
the thing is, that's going to alienate your potential growth. It's stupid. It's the worst way to possibly market. It's the same thing they did with Star Trek, and now they're trying to do it with the X-Men.
I think that they're doing exactly what they should be doing. They're going right after their target audience, and they're not trying to cast a wide net and water it down. And I'm actually thoroughly, and there was only one episode I didn't like, and that was part one of this episode.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think that with X-Men, first of all, X-Men is a mainstream comic. It's not like a niche comic like Fantastic Four could be. Like very few people have heard of the Fantastic Four compared to the X-Men. More people know the X-Men than the Avengers.
Oh, I just reminded Alex of. I think I made that point yesterday, Alex. So I will allow it, even though it's for yesterday's show, and I agree with you.
But I think the problem is that Berman made the call to focus on mainstream over Trekkies. Well, that is a problem with all the TNG films, except for Generations.
Generations, yeah.
Yeah. That is an ongoing problem with the Star Trek franchise. It's also a problem with most of the Star Trek that's being put out today. Honestly, the only exception being Lower Decks. Lower Decks is the only Star Trek that's made for Trekkies. Which, ironically, it's also hated by a lot of Trekkies. But that's a whole other discussion. But with X-Men...
hey, we got Hannibal Grimm in the house. What's up?
And the same thing is like with the comic books. With the comic books, they've made comic books so graphic now that if I had a kid, I wouldn't let them anywhere near a comic book store.
You know what's funny, man, is and I don't think I've seen my mom. Oh, maybe she is in the chat, but it's been enough time has passed. I don't care. She shouldn't have been letting me read Punisher Warzone at all. You know what I mean? But
right, but Punisher,
she didn't know any better because it had the Comic Code Authority.
Right, but you see, Punisher was the exception, not the rule.
Right, fair enough.
Now, Punisher Warzone is tame. Right.
Yeah.
Now you have people cussing in comics. Now you have straight up nudity in comics. You have people,
Well, they've always had extremely. I mean, X-Men is famous
dude,
for scantily clad women. Come on, I mean,
Batman screwing Catwoman while his enemies burn to death in the background.
Yeah, that's
come on.
That's no bueno.
And so they're just going for pure shock value now, because it's the only way they can sell units. And thank you, Mercer. You can tell Normal I love him too, or love her too. Normal's Mercer's cat, just so you know.
Oh, I know.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, they had Batman full frontal nude. And I don't need that. I really don't. Comic books are supposed to be heroes fighting villains. That's what comic books are. If you want to make an adult comic book that's kind of the niche thing, I can understand that. But now that's the entire comic book industry. It's extremely rare to find a comic book that is that's appropriate for kids. And so you're killing your audience. And people wonder, why is the comic book industry dying? It's because it's woke. No, it's because it's too graphic. You're not, and because I'm sorry, 8, 9, 10 year olds don't get off on watching people have sex. Now, sure, 13, 14 year olds would, but 8, 9, 10 year olds, that's when you get them. That's when they got me hooked. And you don't do that by putting graphic sex and graphic violence in it. So but it's the same problem that I see here with this X-Men series is that I understand that this X-Men series is not nearly as graphic as comic books being put out today, but it's also way more graphic than the previous X-Men series. And so this is not, it's feeling less and less like a continuation of X-Men as much as they're trying to sex it up for some reason. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. I don't care about Professor X having sex with Lilandra. I don't care about Storm having sex with Forge. I really couldn't care less.
Yeah, and Memphis, he already brought that example up, and instead of sounding like an old man shouting at the clouds, let's get back to this episode.
All right, so we get a bunch of stuff about. So Storm is basically going to try and help Forge because he's been bitten by a demon that just popped out of nowhere in Life Death Part 1. And by the way, Planet X, I agree. I think that the X-Men series from the 90s holds up just fine. That's why I'm saying you don't need to sexy it up. The way that it was plenty. Meanwhile, in space, Lilandra's sister is telling Charles that in order to be the Emperor, he needs to renounce Earth, but not only that, allow his memory of Earth to be wiped out, which is like really stupid when you think about it.
Well, she was just trying to do something unreasonable so she could take power from her sister.
Right.
Like, was all that was about.
But it's still, I mean, come on. Like they would go for that. I mean, this whole story makes no sense to me. And I agree, Mike Richards. What you need is Clorox disinfectant wipes for demon bites. That's what you really need. So Forge and Storm go to the caves, where Storm has to deal with her claustrophobia to get the magic mushrooms to cure him. Not making that up, by the way. That is literally the plot. And meanwhile, in space, Charles Xavier is about ready to accept his wiping out his memory, but then he changes his mind and brings everybody into the astral plane so he can literally school them.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, this is just dumb. Meanwhile, Storm is in the cave and feeling claustrophobic because Storm is classically claustrophobic in the comics. And then the demon shows up in the cave. And it's like, okay, why doesn't this demon bite her? That's a real question. Why didn't the demon bite her?
I don't know. Writers didn't feel like going that route, I guess.
Yeah. So then Storm magically gets her powers back and zaps the demon. And then she gets her classic costume, which, by the way,
and all of her hair back too.
Yeah, her hair suddenly grows back. But this is what Storm's supposed to look like right here.
Yeah,
that is freaking Storm. Yeah, demons are racist.
I did like this. Changing her back to the OG look here.
Yeah, which she never had in the old show. So
Hmm.
I'm very happy to see that look come back. Because this is how she was originally drawn back in the late 70s. And I thought she looked awesome like that.
It's another scantily clad outfit though. So there's that. Looks like a bathing suit with a cape.
I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not complaining.
Yes, indeed. Classic costumes are tight. And so then
And tight.
yeah, and then she smears the magic mushroom juice on Forge to cure him. And uh, and then, oh no, she looks on TV and finds out about the craziness that happened in Geonosa in the last episode.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Professor X is doing school for everybody, right down to stupid things like cramming an apple in the Landers sister's face. And he's basically proving that he is a complete badass, that he can crush their brains with a thought.
Hmm.
And that should be enough for them. However, then all of a sudden, he gets a vision of what happened back on Earth, and he's like, "Oh no, my X-Men, everybody's dead!" Ah, the end. Oh, and
Hmm.
Mister Sinister says, "Yeah, it was me."
Yeah.
You know, so so Life Death Part Two. Honestly, it felt like,
Weren't a fan apparently, huh?
well, I would agree with you that it was better than part one, but
Hmm.
it makes it my second to least favorite episode.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Yeah.
I didn't think it was particularly compelling. They basically, it almost feels like, so they got rid of Storm's powers so they could just immediately bring them back. You know,
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was like
it's
a
way too
decade.
rushed.
It was like a
Yeah,
decade in the comics. It's crazy.
right. And that's my problem, is that they're trying to cram too much into the season, and they need to slow down and just follow a story. Like
Well, they're teasing bringing back Phoenix. Did you see her in the intro?
yeah, but that's the thing. Like if they're gonna bring in like I don't know what they call this, like if they I'm just wait I'm surprised they haven't brought in Rachel Summers yet. For those of you that don't know, that's another Phoenix. But but this is just getting messy. I'm they're starting to lose me with putting 75 different plot lines in here.
Well, I said it first in that one episode where they rushed through the Goblin Queen storyline, and you were like, "Well, they only got 10 episodes," but now you're starting to feel it. I mean, they're
Right.
really cramming a lot
Then
of
you
shit in.
shouldn't have even bothered with the Goblin Queen storyline if you're going to rush it that fast. You're not giving any of these stories their justice. Now, with Life Death, I'm okay with that. But with the rest of them, it's like you're cutting out a lot of good storytelling.
Oh, you didn't update your thumbnail. Oh well. Anyway,
Well, sorry, dude. You got to give me the right thumbnail the first time. How about that?
I made it before the episode came out. So, but anyway, at
Yeah,
least
but
I got the right one.
I've been sitting around wincing in pain, and you're bitching at me because I didn't change out the thumbnail.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. I forgot about that.
All right, so
Man, this might be the quickest review we've done of an X-Men episode.
that's because, honestly, considering how much happens, not much happens. I mean, I know that sounds like a contradiction, but basically, you can sum it up as Storm gets her powers back, and Professor X finds out that everybody's dead.
Well, not everybody, just
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I think that Magneto's not dead. I think they're going to do the same thing in the comics where he's going to come back, but he's going to be a villain again, just in time for Charles to come back to run the X-Men against Magneto.
Or they're gonna
And
do something with
I think Gambit.
Bishop and the time travel.
No, I don't. I hope they don't. I think Gambit's dead. I think he's dead. I think they're going to keep
Now
him
you
dead.
see, with the way they're rushing things, come on. Bishop showed up and said, "Not again."
Don't you mean Cable?
or Cable. I'm sorry. Was it Cable or was it? I thought
It was Cable that said not again at the party right before meeting his mom.
Okay, that's right. Sorry, I get them mixed up.
No worries.
So yeah, so Cable's going to come back in time again, and this time he'll be successful.
I hope not. I'm so sick. Like, because then what are the stakes if they're just always going to bring people back? I thought it was like it'd be ballsy. They probably won't do it because of this. It would be ballsy to keep him dead, to keep Gambit dead. You know, it really would.
But I mean, the only thing I could say is, well, Gambit.
And let's be honest. Since Broken Birds isn't watching, who really gives a shit about Gambit anyway? You know, if you're going to kill one of the X-Men, he's a good one to kill.
I never really gave a crap about Gambit, but I was just thinking, hey, there are too many white men on the team, so
yeah, you know.
get rid of the stupid guy from Louisiana.
Yeah, which is pretty much what they did, Stanley. Kill Gambit, bring in Nightcrawler. Because, Gambit wasn't on the intro either.
I do like Nightcrawler, but Nightcrawler didn't appear in this episode.
Right, which was funny because it's the first time
he's Nightcrawler in the credits, but he's not in the episode.
Yeah.
So, and yes,
hey, Joe Cronin's in the house. What's up, Joe? Thanks for joining us.
But yes, Thomas Gambit is the guy that kills with playing cards.
Yeah. So you got here just in time, Joe, because we already finished up X-Men. We're about to hop on to the Star Trek part of the review.
So this episode was passable.
And no, not yet. Brian, perfect timing. We're about to start Discovery here in a second.
Yeah, it was passable. Was it great? No. Was it horrible? No.
Didn't suck. It was meh. It was just like, wasn't the weakest episode.
So, moving on to Discovery.
All right. You want to go back to our old format? You want to hot take this episode first?
Sure.
We'll go for it. What was your hot take, sir?
Okay, guys, I hope you're all sitting down. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
God damn it. I was hoping. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I was hoping we were going to argue. This is the best episode of New Trek they've ever done.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
It's not better than a lot of Strange New Worlds.
I disagree. And here's why. Remember how last week I was talking about, to me, Star Trek is all about the relationships, and like I missed that. They go for too much.
They finally establish a relationship that's interesting.
They do, but they also flesh out the character of Rayner. And I really like this guy even more now.
Right. Which is why I'm even more convinced that he's evil. He's got to be, because I like him too much.
Nah, there's no way he's evil. But yeah, okay, Thomas, we like an episode, so we're shills. F you, man. Yeah. Whatever. It was a good episode. Yeah, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I really can't.
Not without its problem. I'm working on a review of it, actually. I was hoping to have it done today so that I could post it on my other channel. But I just didn't have the energy. The pain thing. But a problem here, so this first scene, right, where they go to this guy, and who's like a Skrull Cardassian dude, and they're apparently purchasing the next clue. Mm-hmm. Now, we do get the, the little tag at the beginning that this was 15 hours ago, or 15 hours. I don't know. There's a
15 hours prior. Yeah.
But the problem that I have is, wait a minute. On Trill, they just got the last clue that was 800, these clues have been sitting around for 800 years, right? At least. 800 years, because the Vulcan scientist the Romulan scientist was 800 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so they set this path up 800 years ago. So does that mean that they knew this guy was going to have it in 800 years? Because how did Locke and Maul go right to him? Like, shouldn't it seems like the map should be pointing to a location where it's hidden, not a person who you're going to buy it from.
Yeah.
So that made no sense to me as far as that opening scene. And when that happened, I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then he's going to double cross them, but then they double cross him because, they're all jerks. And so they poison the Latinum. But yeah. And so then they're like, and it looks like they're kind of got a romantic thing going.
There was a weird little awkward kind of, are they going to kiss, not kiss? Like, what's going on here? Yeah.
So,
she's probably just manipulating him like women do, evil women.
But now at the same time, that doesn't look like the other clue. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. And no, Thomas, we don't know if they banged yet or not.
Who cares? God.
So then we get the next scene, which was equally pointless.
Well, it was just to establish where the time bug came from and how it infiltrated the ship.
But when I say pointless, I mean this is the only scene that we get Adira and Gray.
And it was one scene too many.
That's my problem.
I'm fine with it.
But that's why I was saying in my review, you don't have to have every character in every episode. Mm-hmm. And so to throw this scene in there, like they could have just had the bug, and never had focused on Adira pining over Gray. Mm-hmm. Because I think that detracted. Because quite frankly, I don't care about their relationship at all. I don't care about a couple of teenagers in love. I really don't. And if Wesley had a girlfriend, I would say the same thing. It was just, it's grating to me every time they focus on those two.
Yeah, no, I mean, the best part about this scene, it was short.
Yeah, but the time bug thing, and by the way, I didn't mind, I do think it's kind of stupid that the way they put a bug on the ship is a literal bug. But, I do like the fact that they Easter egged it by calling it Krenim Tech. Mm-hmm. Which, you recognize that?
Krenim Tech. No. Enlighten us.
The Krenim were the people in Voyager that were wiping out history from Year of Hell.
Oh, okay.
And this thing is a temporal attack.
Yeah, we were saying that in the last week's episode of Planet X. The green guy does kind of look like a Jem'Hadar.
And yes, I know Creep Wesley is in a relationship with the Traveler, but we don't get a lot. And man, the scenes where Wesley and the Traveler are sitting there looking at each other are really creepy.
Very disturbing. Yes.
Yeah. So
uncomfortable, one might say.
Yeah. So the bug goes away. We see her just staring at the picture and smiling, and like. And I could have done without this crap. I just don't care. Do not care at all. And then she gets a message from Stamets asking her to do something, and so she does.
All right.
Okay. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the crew is kind of speculating as to what to do next. And what they think Krull and Maul are going to do.
And the tactical officer is the only one with the logical idea.
Yeah.
In fact, I even think he uses the word logical.
Yeah, Reyes comes up with an idea, and then what's this guy's name again? I don't want to say Cylon.
Planet X. I'm not sure which person you're referring to. Probably the
Planet
Q-tip
X
looking person.
Hold on. Let me again. I've said this a billion times, but I will say it a billion more. The actor is non-binary. The character is not. So referring to her as her and Gray as a he is not violating anything. Now, she does kind of say, I feel uncomfortable with myself. Sometimes I feel like a they. But other people have been calling her her. So I think they just kind of dropped it. You know.
Who cares? That one didn't bother me anyway because of the whole Trill thing. It kind of makes sense because it's a collective conscience of previous.
And
hosts.
yes, Brian, this guy was Leoben, one of the Cylons, the one that was infatuated with Starbuck.
Somebody different. Well, I'm guaranteeing he's going to bring this up every week. But yes,
every single week, every week somebody's going to say, "Hey, wasn't he on Battlestar Galactica?" Yes, he was.
Yes, I really like him in this episode.
So he dresses down Reyes because he's speculating too much, which pisses off Burnham.
But I like how she handled it instead of like in the J.J. Abrams verse where they just air this shit out in front of the crew in a very
right. They go to her ready room.
They go to the ready room.
However,
I
gotta say,
like that.
So let me play this little short clip here. All right, what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it? What?
What they just did.
I'm not sure. Go back. Did I miss something? I don't know what's wrong with it.
Well, yeah, exactly, Thomas. They're too damn lazy to walk to the ready room, which is adjacent to the bridge.
I literally said that out loud. I was like, man, these people are going to end up looking like the characters from WALL-E if that's how they're
exactly what. If I were to bring up my review that I've been editing, I have a picture of the people from WALL-E.
Oh, that's funny.
Say this is what that's going to lead to. If they can't walk to her freaking ready room,
maybe 30 meters away from where they were standing, if that,
Well, but then the funny thing is that when they can't beam back, they say, "Oh, we have to take the turbo lift." Then where the hell is her ready room? Every other starship, the captain's ready room is right off the bridge.
Yeah.
But no, all of a sudden they're putting the ready room on a different deck. No, Thomas, they say they are beaming to her ready room.
Yeah.
She does specifically say the ready room.
Maybe now that they have those convenient Insta transporter thingy do hickamabobs, the ready room is further away. Who knows?
But Discovery was built before they had the instant transport.
Yeah, but I'm sure they retrofitted it, or not retrofitted.
Why would you move a room?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyway. So they have a really this conversation right here is the best part of the episode.
I wouldn't go that far, but it is good. I love how after he is very disrespectful and says BS.
Yeah, well, he apologized because he knows
immediately he was like, "Oh, that was out of line." He goes, "Yo, that was out of line."
Yeah, because he would not tolerate that from one of his officers. When he was a captain. But I love the fact that at the end of it, she's like, you're on my ship, and on my ship, I expect you to do things my way. It's like, but what if my way's better?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they end the conversation. I love that. And yes, Bradley, they murdered themselves and made perfect clones because they're too lazy to walk. Yes. Because we all know transporters are murder machines. So they have their little conversation, and then they get the note. All of a sudden, oh, there's a power surge, and somebody sent a transmission, and they're like, "Oh crap, it's going down. Let's beam back to the bridge." And when they go to beam back to the bridge, everything goes crazy. But I forgot. We also had Stamets spots the spider.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and when they materialize, they're like, "What's going on? We're not, we're in a wormhole." And then she sees everybody in their season 1 uniforms.
Yeah,
And
they should have done some kind of special effects for Tilly. She did not look like
dude,
season 1 Tilly.
First of all, no, that would have been
something. I mean, she looks
waste of effects.
She looks way too different. I mean,
Dude.
They did such a great job with young Burnham. Oh my God, I love those scenes.
Young Burnham, I was impressed with, but that was just actually that was Sonequa Martin Green's performance, more than anything else. That and a different wig, and Fed, are we torturing ourselves? Actually, not this week. This week the episode was pretty good.
I found myself. I actually watched it twice. I enjoyed this episode.
So she realizes, holy crap, this is when the Red Angel was towing.
She's like, that's me.
Yeah, which by the way, it still brings back memories of how pissed off I am that they towed Discovery to the 32nd century after they defeated Control. So the danger was over, but then they moved Discovery anyway. Because they're stupid. All right.
Hey, look, just because I'm saying this is my favorite Discovery episode ever, doesn't mean it's great Star Trek, but it is a good episode. I did enjoy it.
You said it's the best new Trek ever.
I do. I think it is the best new. I mean, okay, well, I get it's better than anything Discovery's ever put out. It's better than anything Prodigy's had. It's better than most of the episode. I'm sorry. I like Strange New Worlds, but this is a good Star Trek episode of Star Trek. We're exploring Star Trek themes. I know people hate the time travel thing, but this is done well. I like the character growth of the new first officer. Mm-hmm. I really love the juxtaposition of, it made me of Burnham, because it made me realize, you know what? Maybe we were all supposed to hate her as much as we did those first few seasons.
Because they made her out to be the...
and maybe we, because I like this version of Burnham. I really like this episode because it made me realize that this character has had growth. Even I missed the whole season, but I don't know. I thought that was really clever what they did. Right. Because a lot of people most people I know, their biggest gripe about this show was her.
Especially, and it still
especially
is.
First season.
She's still the weakest part of the show, but she's much better than she was.
Yeah, and they really accentuate that character growth by having her face off with her younger self here in a little bit, which I loved. Right.
So they're trying to figure out what to do, and so then they end up all the way back in. Now this is another one I have a problem here. Why is Discovery being built on the ground?
I don't know, because J.J. Abrams did that with his Enterprise and his movies, I guess. No. I don't know. I thought they built these like in space, but Right.
That's why they have space dock.
Yeah. The Utopia, Planitia, all that stuff.
Well, granted, Discovery was built before there was a Utopia Planitia because it's 23rd century. But they still should have. I mean, you saw like Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The Enterprise was built. It was rebuilt in space. They didn't land it to refit it.
Yeah.
And so then we get Mr. I'm wearing a futuristic hard hat, saying, "Oh, you're doing the inspection. You're not supposed to be here yet."
I love Rayner's line coming up here.
Failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Oh, he's like, okay, well, we better do 7 last. He's like, no, tell him we're coming there first. Mm-hmm. And then he says the line you're talking about. I like, my favorite part was the smart ass part at the beginning. Tell him we're going there first.
Yeah. And that was just a good way to clear the room.
Yeah.
And they do a good job at making a point that they have to be careful to any interactions they have. They have to be careful not to corrupt the timeline.
Yes, and that's the first thing she checks in the final jump of the episode, is
Right.
to make sure, okay, good, nothing's changed in the past. That was the first thing
Right.
she checked.
So so basically this is the setup here, is that we're going to get an entire episode of Rayner and Burnham.
I ain't complaining about it. I enjoyed
And that
it.
was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because
Establish a strong relationship early on with your two new top characters, basically.
Right.
You know, yeah.
So then they jump again, and all of a sudden they're in the big battle at the end of season 2. Thank goodness we didn't dwell on that too long, because I would have been really getting angry. Although it would have been cool to see the Enterprise out that window, you know, instead of just seeing lights going. And so then
This was clever.
yeah, and they're like, "Oh wait, Stamets is outside of time. We can get him to help." And meanwhile, Stamets has a piece of bulkhead lodged in his chest, which did happen at the end of season 2.
I remember it, and it wasn't exactly the same, but it made sense that his doctor / Culber would be like, "This dude's talking nonsense," and just knock him out. So he could have Stamets could have got away with saying anything right here, and it would not have affected the timeline at all.
Right. But I do like the fact that so this is also something that's kind of now in the Harry Mudd episode, when Harry Mudd had the time travel device, Stamets was the only person immune to it because of his tardigrade DNA. And so since they established that back in the day, they're reusing it now. And so they're actually being smart.
Yeah. And Planet X, I didn't watch any of season 4, and I didn't see the end of season 3. And the couple things I had questions about, he filled me in on, but for the most part, I don't feel like I'm out of the loop, you know, at least not yet, you know, so I don't think so. I mean, what do you think, to answer Planet X's question?
No, you don't have to, at least not so far. They're not making any direct references to the aliens from season 4. But I will tell you,
don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. But the aliens in season 4 are actually really interesting. Those last few episodes are some of the best that Discovery did, which I know that's a very low bar, but you know, it was actually very interesting. So then they jump again, and Burnham is timing it, which is a smart thing to do. But then they end up at a point where I can't remember what they're called, but some group is attacking the ship, and so they have to fight them.
These are the people, I believe. This is when
I think they're from season 3.
No, I think,
or season 2.
What was the season with Control with the guy?
That's season 2.
Okay, I think this is from season 2.
Okay, yeah, it has to be at least season 2 because we have "Hey everybody, I'm a lesbian" Reno.
Yeah.
But which, by the way, was actually one of her better scenes.
Yes, yes, it was the one that coming up with her and Rayner, right here. Yeah, coming up here.
And so, I thought this was actually one of her stronger scenes. And so then they end up in the distant future, 30 years after the Breen use the technology and wipe out everybody.
Yeah, this was trippy.
And so this scene is establishing the stakes of everything.
Yeah.
You know, so this was actually a good example of the main part of the episode was just building up Rayner and Burnham's relationship, but at the same time they're showing you stuff that's like, hey, this is where the show came from. This is and this is the stakes this season.
Yeah.
which so I think that's actually kind of cool. This is the best writing I think I've seen.
I know.
on
I
the
was actually
series.
about to ask, say, I wonder who wrote this, because this is a very well, in my opinion, well written episode, especially with all the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is a tight. It really is a tight episode.
And Thomas, so if that was the one, if it was the Green Lady people, then that was season 3. So then,
I thought it was the guy, the minions for the guy with that was trying the dude that had the AI in his body that was
yeah,
trying
that's
to.
the dude from season 2. I don't know, but
Okay.
doesn't really matter, to be honest.
Yeah.
So then we see there's Starfleet headquarters completely destroyed. And
Just been floating there in pieces for 30 years, apparently.
Yeah.
Didn't drift very far away. 30 years.
And and when she was flicking that dust off the captain's chair, I was like, gee, is that like what's left of Saru? I was just,
Oh God!
because
so
there's
by
no
this point,
bodies lying around.
Wouldn't Saru have been? Well, at 30 years, they probably turned to dust. Well, I guess there should be
There'd be
bones.
skeletons or something.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, but I was thinking, like, if their tech has the ability to create life, maybe it has the ability to instantly destroy all life. So, like, they hit Discovery and just everybody's dead.
Maybe. Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
But the ship itself is left intact, kind of like the idea of a neutron bomb.
I like how the ship's AI or whatever kind of goes crazy,
right? Well, because it's been sitting there
by itself the whole like for 30 years.
Well, and that's a big part of season 3 is the AI becomes conscious and blah blah blah. But so this is how they calculate the length of time that each time jump is.
She calls it something. Apparently, this is some type of real
it's a conical
something.
Yeah, grid or whatever. Yeah, so it's tech. So then they go back in time again, and I do love that Stamets, unlike them, Stamets just appears wherever he would be in that time.
Right.
And so then he's got to like really quickly figure out where he is, when he is, and what he's supposed to be doing. And
I really do like this scene because you don't know if the chick knows that he's in a time loop and lets him out, like just like makes the joke so it doesn't F with him too hard, or if she's just effing with him. You know what I mean? Because either way works.
So he's like telling her to go do whatever she's got to do, and then Burnham and Rayner sneak in. So he yells that there's a spore. What is it? A spore breach.
So, and like they're going to grow mushrooms in their lungs or something. Yeah.
Which I love that later he says, I can't believe, because believe my crew doesn't know that spore breach is not a real thing.
Yeah.
And so they figure out where the thing is and what it is, but they need to figure out a way to stop it. And so they figure, wow, that just looks really weird. It looks like Burnham is like 2 feet tall and standing in front of him.
Oh, yeah, I think she's behind him, actually.
Yeah, she's heading to the door behind him, but it looks like she's in front of him. So,
yeah, kind of.
Anyway.
Forced perspective.
Yeah, so she's trying to get...
this scene, actually... This is a good scene. This got me, because
you didn't know much about their relationship.
Right. And I'm like, and apparently neither does she, because like the first time she hears this dude say "I love you" is this.
Well, no, they were shacking up at this point. This is from season 4.
No, this is in the future, isn't it?
No, this is like season 4.
No, this is in the future. I thought this the way. I guess maybe you do got to watch season 4 then Planet X. I don't know. The way I saw this was them in the future, and this was the first time she heard him say "I love you."
No.
know?
They were shacking up in season 4, but then he betrayed her trust, and so that was a tough moment for her.
Well, why was she acting like this was the first time they kissed, and she's all like,
because
she's seeing him shirtless. You know what I mean?
Think about it. They broke up under extraordinarily harsh conditions, and now she's got to look him down and act like that's never happened.
Damn! Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch this. I really thought this was in a little bit in the future, but okay. So this was not okay. All right.
So they get the time doohickey ready, but then the bug has a self-defense mechanism. Yeah, and value. She did not cry, which was impressive. They didn't go Gilmore Girls in this episode.
She held it back, though. I mean, you could see her.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't mind if she's upset and holding back the tears. I don't want to see her cry in every episode.
Yeah, no, for sure. I really did like that scene, though.
Yeah. So they figure out that, okay, they need to basically pop a warp bubble in order to, and by the way, I got to say, this canonically is the first time they actually talk about the fact that the warp bubble protects you from time dilation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that people always talk about in Trek. What about time dilation? Well, the warp bubble protects you from time dilation.
Yes.
And this is the first time they actually say it, so it's canonized.
Huh. Right on.
But so they figure out they need to pop a warp bubble, and that'll give them enough time to kill the bug.
Mm-hmm.
However, whoever does it is not going to be feeling good. And so then
this was a nice little callback.
Yeah, I like red is your color,
Yeah.
But at this point she
was really happy about
yeah. But she's only been on the ship at this point for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think he said 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so nobody trusts her except Linus Fair. And there you go. That's the makeup job they did for. Now you can tell that's not Burnham from season 1, because
I thought they did a good job.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, her face is filled out a little bit more. You can see some rings around her eyes from age, but basically just putting her in the old uniform and giving her the wig from season 1 really works.
Yeah.
Because the simple fact that she never ever smiles.
Yeah.
Now I think I'd have to go back and rewatch season 1, which I'm not gonna do.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
She scowled for sure a lot in season 1, but I don't think she was quite as bitchy as they make her out to be in this. As far as her attitude,
like I said, I almost feel like this was a nod to the fans. Like, yeah, we heard you. You guys didn't like her. Ha ha. You weren't supposed to. She didn't even like herself.
Right. But look at that the way she's.
Well, we can't. You've got our faces right in front of the action.
You moved our pictures, so actually, it looks like you're new Burnham and I'm old Burnham, and interestingly enough, our shirt colors almost match.
Yeah, right.
But like the way that she's got her shoulders leaning forward, she's a much more aggressive stance. Now I do remember Burnham had that kind of badass attitude when they first brought her on the ship, and like she was picking fights and stuff. So I guess I can kind of see it. But yeah. So then the two of them like start duking it out. And pretty good job here as far as making it look like she's fighting herself.
They did a really good job. Yeah, I thought.
Oh, man. Now, do I think the fighting is super impressive? No. But it looks better than Kirk versus the Gorn.
Yeah, but they this is her the Vulcan martial arts shit that she knows, and
Yeah.
I like how they really do a good job with the choreography of this fight, where it's like she is totally fighting herself. You know what I mean?
It does seem like she's fighting herself. It's just that the style of fighting she's using, I'm not buying into very much.
Yeah.
But I'm buying into they're both fighting with the same style.
Hi, Mercer. Guess I can move it up a little.
I don't like the because one thing that most people, if you've ever taken martial arts, you probably already know this, but if you are a triple, quadruple black belt in karate or jujitsu or whatever, don't pick a fight on the street. You will lose 100% of the time because it's not street fighting when you're fighting, but they're both fighting by silly martial arts rules. So I can kind of buy it. The problem is Hollywood tries to make martial arts into a superpower.
Value of nothing. I get why you say that, but I think they were just trying to drive home how much of a hothead Burnham was this early on.
Right.
And it's, come on, man, it was a cool scene.
So like right here in this shot, you can tell that Blue Burnham is the stunt double.
Yes.
But she looks enough like Sonequa Martin Green to where when they're fighting at speed, you can't tell which is which.
Mm-hmm. Man, they've gotten so much better with technology when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah. So then,
and he gets her with the Vulcan neck.
Gets her the same way she got Georgiou, which is kind of jacked up.
I love it. I laughed. I thought it was funny. And this was sweet. I'm a sucker for this kind of shit when done correctly. When she was talking to herself, about the future.
Right. So meanwhile, and this is actually a pretty good scene with Stamets.
This is and
Raynor
showing some growth with Raynor. He's like, I thought you were this guy, and then he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh well, shit. How can I help? So he's like, the man can be taught. You know.
And I do like that he's like, hey, let's show them that these old dogs, what kind of tricks they can do,
Yeah. And then Stamets even cracks a smile to it. So I did like this scene. Like a lot of good character building stuff in this episode.
This was a good episode for Stamets and Raynor and Burnham. And so that's the amazing thing. And the interesting thing, and then we get Adira. Or not Adira, what's her name? The robot chick. I always just called her robot chick. Because until her last episode, she had no character growth at all. And then
Ariam, I think was her name.
Yeah, Ariam. And so this scene was probably Ariam's best scene in the entire series.
Dude. This was another really good scene. And it also helps show instead of tell the importance of establishing, what she was trying to impart on Raynor, like how important it is to get to know your crew, to establish relationships with them, because it's the fact that Burnham took the time to do that is what brought everybody over to helping her in this scene here,
right. And thank you to the actress that plays her to be willing to put the makeup on again, because I thought that was really cool to bring someone back from the dead like that for this one little cameo. I'm so glad. I was halfway expecting Burnham to try to come up with a way to bring her back with her, and I'm so glad they didn't.
Yeah, no. I'm so glad we didn't see Lorca, because when they said that, this is, the ship's under Lorca's command, I was like, God, I don't want to see that guy. Please don't.
And Brian, and actually, I would have liked to have seen Lorca again, because I really liked Lorca. But Brian, no, I would not say this episode is a first step in fixing problems, because this is not the first decent episode of Discovery. This is probably the single best episode of Discovery so far. But I do, and so it is definitely a step in the right direction.
Super chat.
And thank you, Anonymous, with a $1 donation, says, so they couldn't interact with people because it would change history, and yet they did anyway, and all of a sudden it was that the people won't remember.
No, they explain that.
They do explain that. They say as long as they reset the timeline in this jump, then nobody will remember what happened in this timeline.
In this jump, but all the previous ones, that shit happened and it's written in stone. But like if they change it in the one that they're in now, none of this matters.
Which actually makes me wonder if they're going to try to establish something changed with Tilly. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Tilly caught a glimpse of Burnham leaving the bridge in the Red Angel scene.
She did.
Yes. She woke up just as Burnham was leaving. And she looked up at the turbo lift just as the doors were closing. So I'm wondering if that's gonna factor in later.
Listen to me.
So they do a good job here with basically Burnham interacting with the old crew. See, like, I think that looks enough like old school Tilly. You can't make her lose the weight. I mean, what are you going to do? Have her starve herself for a couple of weeks just to... And then
they got those filters on your phone that like make your neck skinnier. They could have done something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the main point was Arium.
Yeah.
And so I like that Burnham basically straight up told Arium she's going to die and how she dies, and that's what convinces her. And Anonymous says,
Super chat.
Burnham convinced him that she was telling the truth by saying Robot Chick would sacrifice herself to save the crew. Who in command in Trek wouldn't do it? Lots of people. And actually think about it. What they were saying is that Arium gave up the fight in order to sacrifice herself to save the rest of the crew. And most people would like struggle to the very end to find a way to, pull her out and all that. But Arium was like, no, if it was logical, if I calculated that this was what had to be done, I would do it. And that's exactly what happened. So I didn't have a problem with it.
I didn't either. I thought this was a very well done scene. And I was even more surprised with the scene coming up with Raynor talking to Burnham. I really like that. So there's a lot of good scenes in this episode. They really were. I was surprised. I felt like so weird liking this episode, and I.
So meanwhile, they're getting ready in engineering, but evil Burnham and Reyes stopped them. And here we have, we have another good moment for Raynor as he tells Reyes about what kind of a guy he is.
Yes.
And the fact that he always is like the Constitution class because he loves the curves, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, yeah, that's true. And so convinces...
There's some good acting coming up here.
And then when he walks up to the phaser with Burnham, I got to say, I never liked old Burnham until this moment.
Yeah.
This was the only time I actually liked old Burnham.
No, she actually, to her credit, she does some good acting here with just her face. Like when he's, when he says, "I know you're going to make the right decision and stand down," and they show her, it's like good acting.
So yeah, this was really intense, well done, and I believed it, and so then they break the warp bubble.
She checks to make sure they didn't screw up the history timeline.
And so then they're like, okay, guys, we need to, figure out what's next.
You skipped right past his hand getting like aged, 50
Well, that's
years.
because, then he just goes to the doctor and gets it fixed off screen. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it hurt him, but it wasn't like a big deal.
This part did confuse me. She said something about blinking, or they said something about blinking.
Oh yeah,
and
Derek
6
came in
hours
and says,
passed.
What the heck happened?" Because remember, the ship was stalled for 6 hours.
So everybody there they lost 6
lost
hours.
6 hours, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And that was the whole point of what those time bugs are supposed to do, is they basically hold your ship in this time jumping stasis for a while to prevent you from being able to do anything. And in this case, they prevented them from being able to act for 6 hours.
Okay.
So it gave rock and roll a 6 hour head start.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, and I forgot that Adira comes back at the end there for that, but oh well, there are worse things. Let's see. Going back to the first time jump, I wanted to go to what I was talking about. Yeah, right here. So you see Tilly there waking up?
Yeah, but this is
This is the first jump. Okay, this is only 9 minutes into the episode. First jump, Red Angel.
I'm talking about, this is from season 2 or
season 1.
This is season 1. Yeah, Tilly looks way different.
Dude, I just don't stop going on that, okay?
Sorry.
It's not about that. I'm saying, look at Tilly. She's awake.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She looks up and look at the look on her face, and she sees Burnham.
Okay.
All right. And so she only sees her for a second.
Uh-huh.
That's all she saw of her. But was that enough to do something to history?
Maybe not to history, but for Tilly, if they bring it up,
that would be history.
Yeah, but not in a way that could be noticeably trackable, like on the grand scheme of things.
You never know. Yeah. I'm just saying something could have had some repercussions there. But yeah, you need to stop obsessing over Tilly's weight.
I wasn't obsessing over her weight. It's the same beef I had with Picard looking so much older in Nemesis. They should have made him an admiral at that point. He looks so much older than he did in the previous movie, Insurrection. Sometimes you just can't do anything about the passage of time, right. I'm just saying, they could have picked somebody unless they are going to do something like you're talking about where there's a reason it was Tilly. They should have just used somebody else that looks a lot more like they did 4 or 5 years ago. That's all I was getting at.
Right. But yeah, Tilly, I get it.
She's literally the only person that doesn't look the same as they did in season 1. The only difference with Burnham is her hair. Everybody else virtually looks the same,
Let's see. And actually, that was season 2.
Or season 2, yeah. The Red Angel. That's what I said originally.
Yeah. Red Angel was season 2. Oh. If we go, let me see. I don't know if I have that or not. Let me take a look here. Star Trek Discovery season 2. And specifically, it would be Sweet Sorrow Part 2. Bear with me. I'm trying to find.
Sure. While he's doing that, let me take a moment to introduce you guys to today's awesome sponsor. You may know them. We certainly do. And if you don't, you should come to know them. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy. Okay, I can't find it. Never mind. This video.
Please enjoy. I can't find it. This video.
Right here. Oh, here we go.
Hello! Blaine Andrews here, local business owner and critic enthusiast. Are these critics constantly clickety-clanking around on their keyboards? Are their terrible reviews driving you crazy? Is your critic clawing away at the the very fabrics of society with their terrible opinions? Think there's no answer? You're so stupid. There is! Critic Mittens. Finally, there's an elegant, comfortable mitten for critics. I didn't hear a thing. Is your critic one-armed or have fat sausage fingers, a skinny bird-like physique, or just no fingers at all?
The heck
that
is
doesn't
this?
matter because one size fits all. Critic Mittens, you'll be smitten. So come on down to criticlist.com. We're the home of the original Critic Mittens. And how? Download on Android, Apple, or maybe just visit the interwebs today because it's an app. You download it because it's an app, but it's a website too.
Did I kill enough time for you?
Just about. I'm just about there.
Well, criticlist.com. Both of us have a review page there. You can get the link in our descriptions.
All right. So share screen window. I don't think it's all that far off.
Okay, fair enough.
That is Tilly from that scene in the, and it's actually season 3, episode 2.
Okay.
That's when she was unconscious in front of the turbo lift.
Okay, all right. Okay,
So-
well then, yeah, so okay.
Yeah.
I'm misremembered in the words of George W.
Anyway, I just wanted to see how far off was it really.
Yes, Mother, that was the point. It was.
Yes.
It was stupid indeed.
So Critic Lists is a website for people who want movie reviews but don't like critics.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Star Trek Discovery is a TV show for people who want Star Trek but hate Star Trek.
This was a good Star Trek
Yeah,
episode.
but this
though.
was actually a good episode, so I got to give them some credit. There have only been probably about maybe 5 episodes in total of Star Trek Discovery that I would say are good episodes, and this is right there at the top. Of the
I
list.
can't think of a single one but this one. But I'm also like so far removed from having watched anyway.
Well, you skipped season 4 completely.
Yeah.
Which actually had a couple of really good episodes towards the end.
Okay.
And
I'll take your word for it.
And I have to say, I have a soft spot for some of the stuff in season 2 with Pike. And I actually, from season 1, liked the Harry Mudd time travel one, even though that wasn't Harry Mudd. I thought that was a fun episode, even if their version of Harry Mudd didn't feel like Harry Mudd. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, it had that dude from The Office in it.
Yeah,
as Harry
Rainn
Mudd.
Wilson.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I wasn't a fan of that episode. In fact, as back when I was reviewing it with Salty Nerd, you can watch my reaction to that on their channel if you want.
of course, you were drunk, so maybe
Well, there's that too. I was an alcoholic. Well, I'm still an alcoholic, but I was a practicing drunken alcoholic back then.
Yeah, he was a practicing alcoholic.
Yeah. Now I'm one in recovery.
Like, went to the Church of Alcohol.
Yeah.
All worship bottles and James.
45 days today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts.
Skip to the end because I liked how we didn't really how when she's telling the crew like what all happened and they're all making their I can't believe that I believed you and like blah 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 and then the way like in kind of the moment that Raynor has like I don't know at the end of this episode I felt like and I hope they don't screw the pooch on this. I feel like starting next episode now we have a crew. We have a family. We have a crew going forward that's close. And hopefully they don't F it up. So this is doing that thing that shows like Picard have done to me so many times, gives
Get
me
your
hope.
hopes up.
Yeah. So just like, I hope it doesn't, I hope it doesn't let me down. But this episode definitely gave me hope. I did enjoy it, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Well, look on
I'm-
the bright side. If they screw it up, you can just write it up to this is Discovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what about you? What were your
Yeah,
final
I
thoughts
thoroughly
on this?
enjoyed this episode. Like I said, as far as Discovery episodes, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10, which is definitely the highest score I would give any Discovery episode.
I don't even want to venture the score because
I'm just saying, if I were to score this episode individually, I would probably give it that high.
I would give it at least a 7, at least, and I'll just leave it at that. I watched it twice, like back to back. Like I liked it. It was really good. Yeah.
And yes, Thomas, it would have been better if Robot Chick had actually killed Burnham. But then, of course, the Breen would destroy everybody, so that would be bad.
Yeah.
And Value of Nothing says this episode was a lie. I'm not sure how.
Hey, that's fine. That's why it's called Nerd Fights. If the two of us are going to agree, we need some dissenting opinions in the chat at the very
Look,
least. So.
I will say this. I'm not saying Discovery is a good show.
Because it's
right.
not.
Yeah, Discovery is still the worst Star Trek show ever produced. And, I mean, that's
Although
just...
Picard season 1 and 2 did try to give it a run for its money. That's for
Well,
damn sure.
Picard is near the bottom of my list as well but you got to rate them by series, not by because it's like that's why like a lot of people get pissed at me because I don't put TNG as number 2 right behind TOS, but the reason is because TNG really sucked for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And people tend to gloss over that. They just like, oh, but, Best of Both Worlds and The Inner Light and Chain of Command. Yeah, TNG had some awesome moments, but not in the first couple of seasons.
Yeah.
The first couple of seasons were pure cringe.
I hate to say it, man, but it was, as soon as they got rid of Gene Roddenberry, getting his fingers out of the pie.
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry should not, look, I know it's sacrilege to say this, but Gene Roddenberry was the worst thing to happen to Star Trek. And so, yeah, getting him out, except for maybe not. And by the way, this is another thing that pisses me off. People get mad at Alex Kurtzman. Alex Kurtzman didn't create Discovery. Alex Kurtzman took over.
Brian Fuller did, right?
Yeah, Brian Fuller created Discovery, and Alex Kurtzman has been trying to fix it ever since. And so, say what you want about Kurtzman, but he did not create this show. And if you look at the shows he was in charge of the creation of, you have Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and Prodigy. And those shows are all better than Discovery. And some people like Picard, some people hate Picard. I get it. I'm not here to debate that right now. I'm on the hate Picard side, but I get it.
I hate it all but season 3, which I loved season 3.
But and same thing with Strange New Worlds. There are people that absolutely despise Strange New Worlds. I don't understand why, and there are people that like it, like myself. And Strange New Worlds has got the most potent and powerful hair in all of Trek, and that alone should give it high marks. But and Lower Decks, I'm sorry, pull the freaking stick out of your ass if you hate that show.
No, Lower Decks is fun. It's a good show.
Well, but the problem is, and this is where Lower Decks has no, it sees sacred cows and says, time to go cow tipping.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. It's neighbor. That's what I'm saying, neighbor. Like it's written on the paper. Sorry.
Why? That was like the most random thing, Don.
Hey, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that commercial is funny, but that was so random. It's like,
I get maybe it's because I'm wearing a State Farmish kind of shirt. It doesn't have the logo, but it's red, so.
Yeah. So I hope the rest of the season can live up to this episode.
You know what? The next episode's called Mirrors, so I feel like it's going to be in the Mirror universe. There's no plot released for it yet,
Right.
But it is called Mirrors. So,
Which would be interesting if they hit a piece of the tech in the mirror universe.
right?
Great place to hide it.
That's true.
You know, if you have it in other dimensions, it's much harder to track down.
You know, this is the shortest season. People are making a big deal because the final episode is supposed to be like a double length episode. But, you know, season.
But All Good Things was a double length episode.
Yeah.
So-
But season 1 had 15 episodes. Season 2 had 14. Season 3 and 4 both had 13. This season only has 10.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Which is too bad because this season is shaping up to be.
It's kind of reminded me of Enterprise, man. They cancel the show and then they decide to make it worth watching. It's like,
yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. You know, I've heard rumors that we're going to see the USS Defiant in the Mirror Universe, and they're going to bring it back.
yeah, maybe that's why they haven't released anything for this episode.
Yeah.
The only thing they've released is the name of it.
So we'll see. Which would actually be interesting if they have some kind of direct tie into In a Mirror Darkly.
Mm-hmm.
Since that was on the Defiant.
Yeah.
And in fact, imagine if they go back in time and they meet up with, like, they had some guest stars from Enterprise.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be badass. I gotta tell you, you know.
I would
So-
do that.
But
Being
you know,
a
Archer's
fan of
dead, but they could
Enterprise.
bring in some other characters.
What do you mean Archer's dead? Trip is dead.
No, In a Mirror Darkly,
Oh, In a Mirror Darkly, yeah. Okay,
That
yeah.
Archer is
that
dead.
Archer's dead. Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, bring back Hoshi. Ooh, yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
Hoshi. Sorry.
calm
You gotta
down.
admit, she was fine. in that
You know, you
episode.
sound like you should be registered in some database when you talk like that.
Oh, you're so funny. Why? Because I found a grown ass woman attractive? Give me a break.
No, because you start grunting like some animal.
It's not a grunt. It's like is that a grunt?
Yes, it was a grunt.